But let me talk about Michigan and Macomb. It's exciting. We are the comeback state. And it was really exciting to see recently some great numbers on the employment front for the state of Michigan. Since I've been governor, we've created nearly 400,000 private sector jobs. Now that's a big number, but sometimes you wonder, what does that mean, 400,000 compared to the rest of the country? That actually places us number 5 in the nation in terms of private sector jobs created, the number of jobs created. More than Ohio, more than Illinois, more than Pennsylvania, bigger states than us. So we're helping lead the charge. Our unemployment rate went below 6% recently to 5.9. That's the lowest since 2001. And we're on a positive path of seeing more good stuff happen. So that's the momentum curve we have. And these are good, well-paying jobs. You're talking nearly 100,000 or more manufacturing jobs. Many of those jobs are professional business jobs that are good, well-paying jobs. So we're on a very positive path. And we should be proud of that, but let's keep it up. In terms of ways to keep it up, one of the issues I will get right up front is this issue about transportation in our state. If you want to have good jobs, if you want to have success, you need good infrastructure, and that is a responsibility of government. And we've been underinvesting in our infrastructure for well over a decade. If you wonder why we have this problem, it's simple. We haven't put the money into the system that we needed to. So when you see those barrels show up again and again, and the same road crews come back again and again, it's not they're doing bad work. They simply didn't have the work they wanted to do to fundamentally fix that road. They were doing Band-Aids. And the easy way to put it, one simple metric I'll give you, and I get this all the time, is people will say, hey, you know, when I go from Ohio to Michigan, I hope I'm a passenger because I close my eyes and I can tell what state I'm in because of the roads. Well, it's really simple. Ohio invests $1 billion more than Michigan in its roads. And I don't like losing to Ohio at anything, folks. So here's an opportunity, because this proposal is about investing $1.2 billion more in our transportation system. And it's about safety. And if you wonder about that, it is about safety. This is a chunk of Michigan road or bridge. And if you stop and think about it, and you're driving around, and you hit a pothole, you're losing control of your vehicle when you hit that pothole, and you're at risk. If you're swerving to miss that pothole, you're a distracted driver, and you're at risk. If you watch that one TV commercial, it's about a mother going around with her family and having another driver kick a piece of concrete up like this, and it went through the windshield of their vehicle. That will scare you to death, and literally it could mean your death, depending on where that lands up in your vehicle. If you drive around Michigan, and in southeastern Michigan, 14% of the bridges have this, look up and you'll see plywood or steel mesh. It's not there for good reason. It's there to keep crumbling concrete from falling on your vehicle. That's the kind of underinvestment we've made, and we simply need to solve the problem. Now, there are 2 or 3 key objections I was going to mention because I think it is important that you hear this. In a lot of cases, people are just upset that we have to go to the ballot. They wonder why the legislature just didn't solve this problem. Why didn't we solve it? I've been calling for a solution for 2 or 3 years now, too. I've been really clear that this needs to get done. But I also want to give credit to the legislature. We had a complicated system here in Michigan that really isn't right. This is our chance to fix it. What do I mean by that? First of all, when you talk about going to the pump to pay for your gas, most people think all the state taxes you pay at the pump go to transportation. Only about half do. It depends on fuel prices. But only 19 cents per gallon, a flat amount, has been going to transportation. That's our underinvestment. The balance of everything else on fuel is our 6% retail sales tax. So when you go pay at the pump, not only are you doing transportation, you're helping schools, local government, and everything else, but that's taking away from the road issue. So we looked at a solution to say, let's put more on the pump. Let's pay for that $1 billion that way. And when we came up with the first solution, what that would do, if we simply added that on top, our gas prices, our taxes in Michigan would be over 60 cents a gallon. We'd be uncompetitive with other states by about 20 cents or so. So that solution doesn't look so hot then. So then we said, let's make sure everything at the pump goes to transportation, which a lot of people agree with. That makes common sense, doesn't it? Well, the only way you can make that happen is if you eliminate the retail sales tax off of gas then. So we said, let's go to 42 cents from 19. That'll give us the extra revenue. But when you do that and you take the retail sales tax off, you create a hole for schools and local government, and that wouldn't be right just to shift the problem, to create a problem for somebody else. The simple solution to it, not the easiest solution, but the simple solution is you look at the retail sales tax and say, let's not increase any goods or services that are subject to it, but raise the rate by 1 cent, going from 6 to 7. That will more than backfill that issue to make sure they're made whole and, in fact, give us some extra resources to make smart investments in our state in things that do matter. Our local governments, our schools, our young people, public transportation, and some tax relief for lower income people. Some changes we had to make in 2011 we took away. We can restore those. And to do that, it required a constitutional amendment. So it required the legislature to put it on the ballot. That's why you're having to be asked to go to the ballot. I know it's a pain. But there's good reason. And when you wonder, did the legislature do their part in supporting this? It didn't take a majority vote to put it on the ballot. It took a 2/3 vote. This had broad bipartisan support to put on the ballot because it's the right common sense answer for Michigan. So we have to get this done. You may wonder, what happens if we don't do this? What were our options? Well, the option not to put it on the ballot, not to look at the solution, although complicated, it's actually simplifying a complicated situation. The answer was to do nothing. That's a dumb answer, folks. That's not just a bad answer. That's just flat out dumb. To do nothing? To let pothole season get worse year after year? We have a chance to do something or nothing. It's pretty straightforward. Let's do something that makes a difference. Because I can tell you, every day that passes that we don't do something to solve this problem, it gets more expensive, in addition to being more dangerous for each one of us. In addition to the safety issue, each passing day our roads go downhill some more. We have more roads go from what's called good to fair to poor. And right now the bill is $1.2 billion a year to get us back up in that good to fair category. If we don't do something, we're going to see that good to fair percentage drop dramatically. Could in fact drop to by half over the next 10 to 15 years. And what does it cost to bring a road back compared to keeping a road good to fair? If you take a poor road and have to bring it back, it costs about 6 times as much to bring a road back as opposed to keeping it where it's at. So this isn't something you sit around and say, yeah, we can wait a couple years. At 1.2, we would be literally adding hundreds of millions of dollars to that bill of what would be required year after year to solve the problem. So I encourage you to get out there and vote yes on May 5th. Now let me swing topics, because I'm sure some of you are glad, well, I'm glad he's done with the road part now. Let's talk about something else. We have a huge opportunity, and I'm proud to say Macomb is a leader in so many different things, including this next field that I'm so excited about. And it ties both into education, but also jobs and careers. In the education message that I laid out, there are a couple areas I emphasized. One was pre-3 on how we help particularly third graders be successful in reading, and you don't wait to third grade. You got to start in preschool, and we're making big investments there, doing great stuff. But the other area I'm going to spend some time on talking about is I said we need to draw a circle around high school and higher ed. We need a much more seamless, easy-to-use system that helps young people understand career opportunities much better than we have today. And let me ask you this question. A lot of you, most of all of us went to high school. Many of us went to college or higher education in some form. Now think back. And I have to go back quite a ways. A lot of you don't have to think back that far. But think back and remember how much career counseling you actually got in college or high school. How much help did you actually get from those institutions about telling you what career to go into? Yeah, the answer is not much, right? Usually people start laughing. Yeah, see, now you're starting to laugh. You were wondering where I was going with this one. But we do a terrible job largely, and we have some good counselors doing good work, but think about this. If you're going to make an investment like that in your life, your future, shouldn't you get better information about where you're headed? We should never tell you what to do, but shouldn't we give you good data to say, this is where the jobs are? Here's how much you can get paid. Here's the training required. Here's the opportunities. Here's a chance to go visit those companies or those people doing those jobs and see what they're going on. That's the kind of thing we need to be focused in on, because we have a giant opportunity to help solve a national problem. And I've talked about this many times, but I view this as a top priority that sort of transitions into one area of careers, but it can apply to many. And that's the skilled trades. If you look at it today, we have a huge national problem. We're actually starting to run into a labor shortage in Michigan, believe it or not, with people having the right skill sets. I know, I can see heads going up and down. It's in healthcare, it's in information technology, it's in many of the trades, welding, plumber, electrician. And if you look to employers, they want to grow and really thrive in places where they have the best group of people with the right skill sets. And in our country, we messed up quite a while ago. We recognized about 20, 30 years ago that we're going in a global economy, so we said we need to raise the bar for everyone. We need people to go off and get additional training. But where we messed up is our answer collectively as the American culture was to say everyone should go off to college. Everyone should go get a university degree. I am never going to discourage anyone from ever striving to obtain a university education. But that was a dumb answer too, much like not doing something on roads. Because what we did is we broke a system that worked where we had a dual career path, where we actually had careers in the skilled trades and career tech education. Back then we called it VOED. If you're in my age group, we called it vocational education. And the way it worked, usually about noon of the school day in high school, about half the class would go off to vocational education, and we'd all get back together and we'd do everything together, and nobody thought anything of it. But now we've sort of created this environment where that track doesn't work the way it used to. Where too often parents and kids discount that track. They feel compared to, look at a university track. In fact, I've seen skilled tradespeople get up and talk and say, they almost apologize for saying someone's on that path to becoming a journeyman plumber or an electrician. You should never, ever apologize. These are honorable careers, well-paying careers. We need to stand up for them. And we need to let people know what a great opportunity they are. So we need to reestablish that there's more than one way to have a successful career. And I was really pleased, coming back to Right to Macomb, I did an energy message recently, and I did a Right in Warren at the Electrical Industry Training Center. What a fabulous place. They're doing apprenticeships, they're doing great things to really encourage people to have a career as an electrician. And it showed how powerful this is. You go around, you go through an apprenticeship mile, you're getting paid, you're not incurring any debt to be prepared for a career. When you come out as an electrician, the pay range, $60,000 to $80,000 a year. What a great career. But also as part of that, in addition to making sure people know that track, we do need high standards in terms of what we ask of our kids and what we educate them to. Too often I hear people to say, you don't need that education. I'll give you an easy illustration from that career center that I was so proud to visit. I went over and hung out with the apprentices. They gave me a break where someone wasn't trying to do a picture with me. So I went over and talked to the apprentices. And what were they doing? They were bending conduit. They were bending metal pipe. And the one student jumped right on this right away. He goes, Governor, before you bend the pipe, the important thing is you got to do the math about where you bend the pipe. And he goes, here's my card with the formulas, and here's the fractions that I'm going through to make the calculations. And I actually had fun. You know I'm a nerd, so we did some fraction stuff together. But it made the point that we shouldn't reduce our standards for education, but we can make them more applicable, more relevant to people's lives. A lot of us may not do Algebra 2 if it's X, Y, and Z, but if it's bending a piece of conduit or welding a piece of metal or doing a roof on a house, we need to know that math, and we shouldn't walk away from saying we want high standards and then local flexibility on curriculum on how best to teach it, particularly if we can make it applied so people can really say it means something to their life. Now, where does all this end up as we reestablish this track for the career tech education, for the skilled trades? A couple things, 2 or 3 things in fact. One, we need to define it much more broadly. It's not just the traditional fields. Welder, plumber, electrician, we all know that. But if you're in manufacturing today, you're a skilled tradesperson. You're working on robotics equipment, industrial automation, you're doing those things. And Macomb's the center of that. In fact, the center of the robotics industry is here. If you're in agriculture today, if you're out on that orchard and you're going through those calculations, you have to be on top of issues, and you're a skilled tradesperson. You don't get up in a $250,000 tractor and drive it anymore, folks. You need to know GPS programming because it's going to drive you. So redefine it in a much broader setting. The second thing is we really need parents and young people and all of us to speak up about what the demand is and what good careers these are. And that's an educational process. And I need businesses to open up your businesses to do more tours, to go talk to school groups, to show them what's really involved. Because it'll make a huge difference. Now the big benefit is why am I so passionate about this? It was interesting. I told you about how well we're doing on unemployment, all those great things. If you go to mitalent.org, which is our collective website to show openings in Michigan, when we had high employment, we had over 11% unemployment when I became governor, and then we launched mitalent.org, we had 80,000 open jobs on that website. 2 or 3 weeks ago, I went to that website, we had over 90,000 open jobs on this website. So just as unemployment's come down, we've added over 10,000 open jobs in Michigan that require this kind of skill set. So literally what we're talking about is an opportunity to put tens of thousands of Michiganders to work in great paying, great career opportunities, and being on a path to have a wonderful family life and success. That's why it needs to be a top priority. The second part that goes with that is if you switch to the employer side and the issue about how you create jobs, again, government doesn't create jobs. We create the environment for free enterprise to work. But I can tell you, and you ask the employers in this room, they're going to tell you they're going to go to the places that have the people with these skill sets. You need to have tax, regulatory. We're meeting all those benchmarks. We're doing well on those. But the driving force is companies are going to stay in the places and they're going to relocate to the places that have this talent pool. And I believe Michigan can have a competitive economic advantage over the rest of the country by being #1 in this field. And that's why my intention is we're going to lead this charge. And that's why I was excited to be with you today, because I know what part of the state I can count on to step up, to want to be at the forefront of doing this. There's so much talent. I talked about EITC, the tool and die industry in Warren and all those traditional communities is still going strong. We've got the defense industry here in Warren going strong. So many, or in Macomb to work on together. There are so many ways to leverage this in a positive way. The only thing that's stopping us from doing it is us. We simply need to make the decision, this is a top priority, and then execute on that plan and do it really well. And so that's my ask of you to be here today, is to get fired up. To say, in addition to that yes vote in May, because we need good infrastructures for those companies and those jobs too, let's go out and make us the model for the skilled trades, for career tech education, for this opportunity to help tens and tens of thousands of our neighbors, our kids, and give them a bright future. That's what we do best, is we like helping one another and making a great county and a great state. So let's get it done. So thank you so much for letting me be here today. Let's do some questions, but thank you. You sure you don't want a piece of bridge? Now, Mark was kind. Westview brought me wine. I'm going to give Mark a piece of road. So.
I got plenty of these. First of all, thank you, Governor. I take it this is with respect to the roads. What is Plan B?
Oh, yeah, what's Plan B? To be open with you, this wasn't my first plan when I was going through the legislative process. I thought there could have been a couple other options, but this was good work. It didn't work in terms of what I first thought, but we came up with a plan that I think is really thoughtful. It is good policy for the state of Michigan. It is good answers. And as a practical matter, there isn't a good Plan B. In fact, I think we'll go backwards if this doesn't pass. And why do I say we'd go backwards? It takes a lot of courage to vote for a tax increase, particularly when you're a legislator. I've been out there for 2 or 3 years saying we needed to do this, so it wasn't an issue with me. I've never been known for my strong political sense versus just getting the job done. But as a practical matter, not doing something is the worst answer, as I said. If this doesn't pass, you're going to find legislators even more hesitant to do something because they just would have been through a process where the voters voted down a tax increase. So I think we'd actually go backwards to some degree. But compared to doing nothing, compared to going through the process of saying, let's just watch our roads get worse and worse and more dangerous, that's why this was worth doing. And that's why it's important to do. So my view is, let's not complain about it, let's just get it done. Relentless positive action. I'm a positive guy.
Our state is, can you hear me? Our state is very favored for out-of-state visitors with our marvelous Great Lakes. Why haven't we considered tolls to assist with road improvement issues for our highways?
Okay. I'm not sure, could people hear? Okay. Because I'm not sure how all the other mics are working. But the question was, how beautiful Michigan is, why we get so many tourists, why couldn't we look at toll roads? Good question. If you think about it, let me take you back to the 1950s very quickly. That's when the interstate highway system was created. That's when this process started. And the way it worked is the states had a choice to either do toll roads or freeways. And literally, that's where the term freeway comes from. A lot of people don't recognize that. It means it's free. And one of the conditions to get federal assistance to build freeways was if you took the federal money and you wanted to later do a toll road, you have to pay the federal government back. The math doesn't work well if you consider all those years we've been doing that. So there are very limited possibilities, but they're not going to solve our problem. So, for example, if we want to do a new lane on an existing freeway solely as a toll lane, you can look at that. But to convert the existing system just doesn't work under current federal law.
Somebody asked, first they say, thanks for being here, Governor. What is your position regarding the future of Selfridge Air National Guard Base?
Yeah, I appreciate it, and I'll repeat it, because I think we got a lot of great Selfridge people over here. I can see those uniforms, and thank you for your service. Stand up now, come on. Yes, thank you for your tremendous service to our country. I'm a huge supporter of Selfridge, and I think we're working well together. I appreciate Candace Miller's always been a tremendous advocate, has done wonderful work, particularly on helping keep the A-10 mission here. We are going to have to look at longer-term solutions. Mark's been a great partner. We actually had an event last year out at the base where we had a great briefing, and we talked about ways to market Selfridge to the federal government even better. I can tell you I was in Washington, D.C. last week, and I had our Adjutant General with me, and we actually had a meeting with the head of the National Guard Bureau, General Grass, who heads all the National Guard for the country. And we had a discussion about Selfridge and other things we can do to make sure we maintain a strong mission. And one of the other things is I'm trying to be very proactive on this. I actually made an effort, and it worked. I've been added to the Council of Governors, which is a group of governors. There's 8 governors or so that actually meets quarterly and helps give advice and such on issues involving the military and homeland security to both the Department of Defense and the White House. And so we've got enough things working in Michigan. I thought it was time to try to get on, and it worked out. I appreciate the support to get on that, but that gives us another voice in terms of the National Guard and the missions we have here. Because one thing people don't recognize, we have the wonderful Air Guard, but Selfridge is actually a great resource for so many different units of the federal government. Homeland Security has multiple operations there. So many other groups are working well together there. And we often have to make sure the federal government understands the totality of what the great effort going here in Michigan is and how we need to promote that. So one of the key things we need to do, to be blunt, is just like the entire state of Michigan, is we have to market ourselves better. Outside of Selfridge, outside the county, and outside the borders of the state of Michigan. Because we do so much good things, sometimes we're too quiet about the good things we do. We have to tell that story. And this one I'm going to be loud on.
I have read the state's proposal budget includes an increase in revenue sharing for cities and townships. Are there plans to try and increase revenue sharing every year, or is this limited to this year?
Yeah, we must have a local government official here. They're asking about increases in revenue sharing. And I appreciate the question. It's a good, fair question. Two parts to revenue sharing. There's constitutional revenue sharing and then there's statutory revenue sharing. The constitutional revenue sharing has been growing at a reasonable rate. It's been growing somewhat faster than the rate of inflation because it grows as we have additional sales tax revenue. And that's one of the benefits of this road proposal, in fact. By increasing the sales tax, it'll roughly bring about $100 million more to revenue sharing for local government. And it's well deserved. To be open with you, back in 2011, I had to make some really tough budget choices and cuts with my legislative partners. And we're still net down about $70 million on revenue sharing from what we were back then. So this $100 million would roughly get us back and add a little bit more. So I'm in favor of that piece of this proposal, but in fact I've been making recommendations to increase revenue sharing because again, we need to partner with local government. It's not about a competition. We are both here to serve you. Too often levels of government do dumb things. They often get in arguments, they fight and blame one another. I don't fight and blame anybody. And in fact, Mark and I work really well together because we understand we have a common customer and we want the best answer for them, and that means working well together. So we just try to get it done, and that applies to revenue sharing and other issues.
Thank you. Please explain why we cannot use the insurance fund interest for the roads and not raise taxes.
Sure. Well, the insurance fund interest, first of all, that wouldn't be enough money to make much difference because we need $1.2 billion a year more for our transportation system. The second part is it's part of an insurance fund. So think about insurance. And a lot of us never take the time to learn about insurance, but insurance means you have to set aside money for future expenses. So you have it available as people need it, and you need to see that grow so it keeps up with inflation and everything else. So the idea of going to an insurance fund to pay for this just doesn't work. One, it's not legally permissible currently. Secondly, it's geared, if we're talking about the fund I think you're making mention of, it's geared towards accident victims. And does anyone think that anyone got hurt, particularly in an auto accident, shouldn't get health care or medical care so we can fix our roads? That's not a good answer. The other part is, again, the dollar amounts and size wouldn't really solve the problem anyway. Without rating the whole fund, and that would be one-time money, that's not recurring funds. So we have a solution that works, folks. I appreciate people bringing up other options. Again, I never want to discourage that because it's good. People are discussing items. But when you weigh them, this one really stands out as a better answer.
This is our last question. I want to also apologize. We can't get to all the questions, but I'm going to see if I can get it to one of your people and you can answer them when we can get them.
Yeah, I like taking them with me. So yeah, we take the. No, wait.
So this is your last question, and then you'll be able to do your closing remarks. But as an incoming college freshman, I found out my first year of college will cost $24,000. What is currently being done in Lansing about the rising cost of college and student loans and interest rates?
Yeah, it's a question about an incoming college student saying she found it was $24,000 a year, and how do you afford those costs? That's a problem, folks. And to be open with you, I just had a freshman start the University of Michigan. We're empty nesters now, and our youngest just started the U of M. So I see those bills. It's two or three things we need to do. One is I think there's more work we can do with our colleges and universities to help them manage their cost structures. In Michigan, they're relatively autonomous. So they don't directly report to me, but we want to partner with them on getting best practices, new ideas on managing their cost structures. Secondly, we've been trying to increase the budget in terms of what we help them with their budgetary requirements, and we proposed an increase. We've been at cost of living or higher the last 2 or 3 years, but again, there's more opportunity there. Third, we need to look at more need-based financial aid. And that's something we should be looking at, particularly for community college, those first 2 years of university. And that's actually the community college piece, and career tech ed is something that this proposal would help us look at in terms of resources being available. The other one is being more innovative and changing the question. And one of the things I've really advocated, and I think I've done that here in the past, I think I did it last year or the year before, was talk about the opportunity for things like dual enrollment and middle college and early college options with our schools. It's an awesome opportunity. And to give you an idea, for those of you who don't know, is middle college is where basically as you go through high school, you start attending essentially and taking community college classes. So within a 5-year period, you end up with essentially, hopefully, close to 60 credit hours and potentially an associate's degree or a certificate in a field. It can be one of these skilled trades, which is absolutely incredible, or it could be more general hours counting towards a university degree. And so I think we need to be changing the question to help accelerate education. I'm very proud of the fact, many people don't know this, and I appreciate the comments about the Final Four, is I actually have state winning this whole thing. And I have state Wisconsin in the finals. And I am a relatively well-known and famous Wolverine, so I am proud of that. I am supporting state, and I believe in that because I support state except when they play. But I'm also, I do have that caveat, but I'm also a proud community college graduate. Last year or so, I got my associate's degree from Kellogg Community College. They started a program where you could get reverse credit because the first year, I actually took 24 credit hours of community college classes when I was in high school. Back at Kellogg Community College, and it changed my life. So I'm a very strong advocate for these dual enrollment, dual programs, because it's a great answer, not just in terms of accelerating education, but financially. So I really encourage people to be open-minded, and you've got some great school districts in this county. I encourage you to come up with creative ways, and if you look at our budget proposals, we're finding ways to put a lot of extra resources towards these middle early college options, particularly when they involve technical education and career tech ed. Well, I want to say thank you. Again, I think I've been here a number of years. This is like a regular event that I really do enjoy. Turnout's great as usual, but you have wonderful people doing wonderful work. Again, the leadership to put this on, the leadership in the county. But I've shared this with you before. I don't like nice events. I don't like events where people just hear a nice statement and walk out and say, well, that was nice. That's a failure point. I hope that these are inspiring enough, exciting enough when you walk out of here to say, here's some things we got to do. Here's some things I may not fully be there, but I want to learn more about. And these are opportunities both in terms of the transportation proposal on our ballot in May. I hope you're there now. But not just there now, you're going to take the time to get out and vote yes. Being there now means nothing if you don't show up on Tuesday, May 5th. Career tech education, huge opportunity to make us stronger, to help our neighbors have great careers, to help our businesses say they can stay here and grow here. Those are the kind of messages we can take. They help with the message on Selfridge, to say that we're the center of people that have the skill sets to be successful. They all tie together, folks. This is a great community that's a leader in our state. I was checking the numbers. About over 9% of the population of the state of Michigan resides in Macomb County. You have a big voice in our state. Be loud and proud. Thank you.